Hello everybody! Do you remember that Planetside II is a thing? I totally forgot about it until recently. We're going to talk about Planetside II. We're also going to talk about Batman Arkham Knight, and Battlefront, and a myriad of other things in this video. But this has spurred me on since the launch of Batman Arkham Knight, and the terrible launch that it has been, to discuss some things. So let's start at the beginning. Recently, I've been checking out old games that I used to play and just got poor performance in. Like Planetside II. I used to only get about 15 to 30 frames per second in like big fights, and while I pushed through it, it wasn't the most enjoyable experience. And since getting my new graphics card, I've gone back and started playing it because I remembered, oh hey, Planetside II is a thing, and it's a really, really good game. In fact, if you've never played Planetside II, or if you completely forgot, here's a reminder: you could go download it for completely free and play it completely free because it's a free-to-play game, and it's actually got a really fair business model. In fact, you don't even have to spend a dime on it if you don't want to. But the thing is, like, I've been going back to all these old games that I've been looking forward to replaying with a new graphics card, seeing them in at least 60 frames per second, such as Planetside 2 in the background here, and I've been having fun with it. And in particular, the reason why I came back to Planetside 2 was because I had the like need to play a first-person shooter. Like, you guys get this sometimes, right? You're like, I want to play StarCraft because I really want to play an RTS. Or I'm going to go back and play the old Generals games, Command & Conquer Generals, because, you know, I want to play a silly RTS. That's amazing. Or maybe you just want to play an FPS, so you go play things like Call of Duty or even Planetside 2, things like that. Well, I was having that because I had saw the trailer for Battlefront at E3, and I was like, oh, I'm really excited to play a first-person shooter, a lot more than I thought I was. I really want to play Battlefront, but I don't want to go back and play Battlefront 1 and 2 because those games look terrible, and as much as we remember them being great, the games were pretty janky, and I'm looking forward to a new version of it coming out, hopefully with less jank, but more on that later. And I started playing Unreal Tournament, the pre-alpha, which is an amazing game. That is also free, so you should go get that. But I realized that I wanted only to play Unreal Tournament with like a group of friends, and you know, not all of my friends are playing Unreal Tournament, the pre-alpha, yet, despite the fact that it's actually like perfect. It's like amazing. Like, all they need to do is just give us more high-resolution maps, and then we have our Unreal Tournament that we want. But you know, like, I want to set up like a private server so I can play against my friends, because that's where that game is fun for me. So instead, I decided, well, I still want to play with people, so I decided to hop on Planetside 2. So that's the main like route that I took to coming back to this game and playing it. And in fact, it's been really, really freaking fun. Like, I just, after coming back to it, I'm going, oh hey, like, I remember that this game was just like well built at its core, and they did a really good job of making a good shooter between the vehicles and the actual weapons that you use and everything. It's a really good game, and coming back, and now I'm getting good performance in the game, not to mention the fact that you know, they have like new content there. Like, I never saw the new continent, and I've never tried a lot of these new weapons, so I'm having fun coming back and just messing around in the game. Despite the fact that I've been playing it for like 3 days straight. But my point here is that it's really cool to come back to these games that are generally a bit older, but you can kind of see how they matured, right? So like, when Planetside 2 launched, it was a rough game performance-wise. And then over the course of several years, they fixed that, and now it's amazing. But at its base, at its core, it was still a really, really good game. So with other games that I've been looking forward to, such as Batman Arkham Knight, one, because I'm a huge DC fan, and I really always have been, and two, because I love the Batman games. Like, Arkham City is still one of the best like action games out there, just because of the combat system. In fact, there's plenty of games out there that have copied that combat system that they have, that Rocksteady kind of pioneered, because it's just so good. So I was looking forward to Arkham Knight coming out because I really wanted to play that game. And in fact, I really wanted to watch Garrick play through that game and to commentate on it. because, you know, that was our plan for the series. But as you've noticed, the series hasn't been released yet. And that is because Batman Arkham Knight had the roughest PC launch that one could imagine. It was a comedy of errors. Like, they even, weeks before, they canceled the, like, Batmobile edition, which is, to me, is really dumb, but that's what they did. So, like, the people who pre-ordered that were kind of angry. And then all of a sudden, people are noticing that, oh, they didn't give review sites review code for the PC version. They gave it for PlayStation and Xbox One, and that's pretty common, but usually someone gets a PC version, like PC Gamer. And then the game launches, and everybody's like, oh, that's why, because the game doesn't actually really work on PC. So what happened here? Let me just, like, run it down for you guys real quick so you could be caught up. So that way you're on board with what I'm about to talk about. So the game launch, doesn't matter what setup you have, it's just the game just really doesn't work very well. It stutters on PC, despite you having, like, a really good computer or a really bad computer. The frame rate drops a lot. There's graphical features missing that are in the console versions. Like, the PlayStation 4 has Ambient Occlusion. Ambient Occlusion is basically a technique for shadows. It just makes shadows look a lot better. It takes the idea of ambient light affecting shadows and just applies it. So, you know, say, like, you were in a stone room and light was shining in, and there was a pillar in the middle of the room. The shadow behind the pillar would be different because the light would reflect off of the stone around you and change that intensity of the shadow behind the column, right? So that's what ambient occlusion is. It just makes the shadows look more realistic in you know, a pretty reasonable fashion. It doesn't typically cost a lot of performance, but it was in the PlayStation 4 version. It wasn't in the PC version. Speaking of which, there was also reflection maps for, like, water and stuff that weren't in the PC version, and that is because Rocksteady, they've done this before, is they had someone else do their PC ports, so they outsourced it, which is never a good idea. That almost never works. And it feels like it was lacking to begin with, and this is a big issue because Nvidia really pushed this game as, like, the next big thing that they're supporting. Then it comes out and it just doesn't work, despite if you have an Nvidia graphics card or an AMD thing, and, like, their GameWorks stuff and the Nvidia stuff, like, it turns on, but some of it costs a little bit of performance, but despite having it on or off, like, performance doesn't change, so it's not their stuff, it's, like, the game itself, which is really unfortunate. And then, to top it all off, after so many complaints and so many refunds being put on, what happened was Rocksteady, actually it was Warner Brothers, and Rocksteady agreed to it, was just to suspend all sales of the game on the PC. So they took it off of Steam, it's no longer anywhere else that you could get it, you just can't buy a PC version. Until they fix it. That's their plan, is that they'll resell it again once they fix the game. But until then, just you can't get it. Which you gotta admit is a bit admirable. I look at that and I go, okay, it takes some huevos to do something like that. They did. And it's good for us as consumers. Because what this means is two things. One, this will definitely deter companies in the future from launching a game that doesn't work. And this has been a common trend recently. Like, the next big AAA one, or the most recent AAA one that released, was Assassin's Creed Syndicate, that just didn't work. And in fact, that game still doesn't work in a lot of situations. But, you know, then you have games like Planetside, like a long time ago. It had a good core, and I'm sure Batman Arkham Knight has a good core, just like I'm sure, you know, all of these games have a good core, but they launch and performance-wise, it doesn't work, or it breaks, and, you know, you can't get past a certain part of the game, which is certainly an issue in a lot of these cases. So the first thing is that I hope that you know, the developers don't do this anymore, that they're deterred from launching a game that just no longer functions at a certain point, especially on PC, let alone on consoles and whatnot. And then the second thing here that we have to keep in mind that is really good is it shows that the Steam refund system is working. Because it was a system that was added recently, and we've had plenty of games launch, you know, in the past that didn't function properly, but there was no real way for a consumer to tell the company that in a big way. And the best way to do that is to tell them that it doesn't work with your wallet, right? To get your money back and say, I'm not going to give you money for a broken product. It's something that we haven't really been able to do on PC up until now. So with that, I'm just hoping that, you know, companies will look at the Steam refund thing and just think twice again about launching a broken game. But this brings me into the point that one, just another 2-point thing. One, I will plan on doing that Batman series if they fix it within a month. If it's longer than a month, then and they don't fix it, then they're probably not going to do anything with it, because that was just a little bit ridiculous. But the second thing here is I hope that because of this, Battlefront will launch in a really good state. You know, going back to my main thing is, the reason I'm playing Planetside is because I want to play Battlefront. But I can't play Battlefront, and I don't want to play Unreal Tournament because I don't have, you know, all my friends playing, so it's, you know, it's down to Planetside for me, right? But EA recently said that if their game isn't ready, whether it's not working or things need to be changed balance-wise or just redesigned game-wise, they're gonna delay the launch of the game and not launch it in the winter of this year, which is a really good thing. And this is, you know, they said this after Arkham Knight launched, and at first it felt like a pandering thing, like, you know, oh, they're just saying that to appease the people who have pre-ordered this, and, you know, maybe will cancel their pre-order for Battlefront, seeing what's going on in the industry right now. So it might be just them appeasing that, but my hope is that they're, you know, they learn from this and we get a really good, well-running Battlefront. Because don't forget, Battlefield 4 launched and was a terrible launch. You know, things were broken. The game was broken for several months, actually. And it's just, I'm tired of companies doing this, especially when it affects something that I want to give to you guys. Like, I really wanted to do the Batman series, but we couldn't do that, mostly because, you know, the game just doesn't run well, despite the fact that Garrick has a 980 Ti now and could probably push through a lot of those performance issues. It just wouldn't look as good, and you would have frame stuttering every now and then, and that's no fun to look at. And we only want to give you the best that we possibly can. And because we have, you know, him with such a good computer, we could possibly give you the best potential looking Batman series that we can, but the fact that the game doesn't run well, that's not going to happen. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to the rest of the year to see what companies do after seeing that PC gamers are willing to mass refund a game in order to prove a point that, you know, we need games that function. But this only works for games that are really, like, launching officially, because, like, you look at Ark. Ark was a game that still has performance issues, but is in early access, so it kind of gets away with it, especially because it's got a lot of content there. But the fact of the matter is, over the past couple days, they've patched twice, 3 times, and I've gone from roughly 30 frames per second on average up to 50. So they're obviously doing work, and they've let people know that we are working on performance. We just wanted to get content out there to begin with. So that's, you know, that's excusable. The whole, like, early access thing, it's gotten a little bit more of an excuse. And I think that's why we're seeing more games go down that early access route, because then you can kind of get away with it if your game doesn't function properly, and that's unfortunate. So I want to see less early access games. I want to see more games like Fallout 4, right? Games that don't even... By the way, that game's probably totally going to be broken at launch. Bethesda games usually are. But, you know, they didn't give us, like, 3 years down the line an announcement trailer. No, they announced it just now, and they're launching it, you know, in December or November. Yeah, November. So it's like, I want more stuff like that. I don't want early access games to drag on for years and then never get finished. I don't want games that launch and no longer work and don't work for several months so you can't really play the game and enjoy it. I just want games to work. And that's my hope here, is that we learn from this entire thing. We learn that things just need to work, which is part of the reason why I'm trying to get into more betas, not for coverage of games to give to you guys, but just to make sure that the game is going to work, because I tend to give fairly good feedback on that kind of stuff, and I really want to try out Knights of the Fallen Empire before it comes out, because I'm afraid of the same thing here. Like, I'm afraid that it's just not going to work. They've announced a release date for it, but I'm afraid that things are going to be broken and really buggy, just because I know how the industry is at the moment, and I don't want it to be that way. And I want to help it change in whatever way I can. So I'm looking forward to many things on top of the Steam refunds, being able to have us, I guess, make a change with our own wallets, and then potentially getting into some early alphas and whatnot to help them change the games, because obviously their QA departments aren't doing a very good job of it. But with all of that being said, if you want to play Planetside II, it is a good game, it does function properly, and you could go get it right now for free, because it has been developed for several years now, and it's a lot of fun to play, especially if you get a couple friends in it. If not, I would highly suggest joining a squad. Also, we're potentially looking at a Batman series this next month, the beginning of the month, if they fix the game. If not, don't count on it. And finally, just a little heads up thing. I've been working on my Heroes of the Storm guides, but one, they take a lot of time, and two, every time I go to record footage for it, it seems like the servers just freak out and start lagging, and that's been a constant problem with a lot of ISPs connecting to the Heroes of the Storm servers. So hopefully that changes and I can get you more of those, but I was honestly really expecting to have a lot of Batman videos out by now, and that hasn't happened yet. So as far as that's concerned, I just wanted to quickly mention that the guides are coming back. I just needed to rearrange time. So with all of that being said, let's hope for better launches in the future for these games, for our sake and for theirs, and we shall see you guys next time.